Few ocean creatures are as striking as the killer whale, or orca, with its sleek black and white markings and impressive size. Despite their majestic appearance, orcas face significant challenges from birth. From navigating food scarcity in changing seas to enduring pollution and captivity, their lives are far from idyllic. This story uncovers the complex realities behind the iconic image of the ocean's most notorious predator, the killer whale. Killer whales come into the world after a long gestation period of roughly 17 months. A pregnant female typically isolates herself or stays close to trusted pod members during labor, and the moment the calf arrives, the mother's protective instincts ignite. Though orcas are apex predators in many respects, a newborn's first moments can be fraught with uncertainty. Calves are comparatively small and must rely on their mother's guidance and milk for survival. The watery domain might seem expansive and free, but it can be a daunting place for a tiny new life. From the outset, a calf contends with factors that can quickly become life-threatening. One major concern is predation risk. Though adult orcas dominate much of the food chain, younger ones can be vulnerable to large sharks, particularly if the mother and pod are distracted or if the calf strays. Additionally, certain orca ecotypes live near regions where larger marine predators share territory. In such places, the line between hunter and hunted can blur if the pod is not vigilant. Moreover, in some rare cases, other marine mammals may harass young orcas. Even beyond predators, nature itself imposes challenges. Stormy seas and strong currents can strain a calf's limited swimming ability. A calf that tires out might fall behind the pod, losing the protective circle formed by older orcas. If separated for too long, the calf's chance of survival drops sharply. This risk is heightened when pods migrate over great distances in search of seasonal prey, forcing even the youngest members to keep pace. Then there is the crucial learning curve. An orca mother teaches her calf critical skills almost from birth. Calves must discover how to surface and breathe properly, how to nurse while keeping up with the pod, and how to interpret the clicks and calls that fill orca communication. As they grow, they must also figure out hunting techniques unique to their pod. Some orcas target fish, while others prefer seals or even other whales. A young orca that fails to master these intricacies can struggle to feed itself later. Environmental factors add to these early burdens. Pollution in coastal waters can undermine a calf's immune system, making it more susceptible to infections. If a nursing mother carries pollutants in her body, these can transfer to her milk. Thus, from day one, a calf might be exposed to harmful substances that lower its resilience to disease. Birth, therefore, is no carefree start for a killer whale. Instead, it marks the beginning of a demanding journey where a single misstep or twist of fate can lead to tragedy. Few aspects of life define orcas more than their quest for nourishment. Despite being called killer whales, orcas belong to the dolphin family, which includes species known for teamwork and cunning when hunting. Different orcapods specialize in distinct diets. For instance, resident pods in the Pacific Northwest tend to favor salmon, while transient or Biggs orcas hunt seals, sea lions, and even porpoises. In polar regions, orcas may corner fish under ice floes or cooperate to knock prey off ice sheets. Such strategies testify to their adaptability, but they also place major pressures on younger orcas to learn the ropes. As a calf matures, it slowly shifts from nursing to actual hunting. However, fish stocks can fluctuate dramatically due to overfishing, climate variations, and pollution. When salmon numbers drop, for example, resident orcas in the Pacific Northwest might travel farther to find enough to eat. This extended travel can exhaust younger members, testing their energy reserves. A mother orca may invest immense effort in teaching her offspring how to follow fish runs or how to circle and herd prey. Without these lessons, a young orca risks hunger or malnourishment. Competition is another obstacle. Orcas are not the only hunters seeking fish, squid, or marine mammals. Sharks, large seals, and even other orcapods vie for the same resources. In waters with declining prey, conflict can arise. Younger orcas, lacking the physical strength and experience of older pod members, remain at a disadvantage if they stray into another pod's feeding grounds. they may be chased away or simply outmaneuvered. The result is added stress and an ever-present scramble for enough calories to support growth. Another hurdle is the high energy cost of orca life. Traveling at speeds necessary to keep up with a migrating salmon run, for example, can quickly sap a young orca's strength. If a pod travels large distances in search of more abundant grounds, a calf must keep pace or risk being left behind. During these migrations, mothers sometimes slow the group's speed to accommodate calves, but the ocean is unpredictable. Bad weather or sudden environmental shifts can force them to press on at a pace that pushes younger whales to their limits. Adaptation offers a hint of hope. Orcas can change hunting methods depending on location or prey type. Some pods teach calves to beach themselves temporarily to snatch seals, while others show them how to create waves to knock prey off. This wide range of feeding techniques can help orcas survive changing conditions. Yet the time and effort needed to learn such skills can be extensive. For a young orca, each lesson can mean the difference between a full belly and a struggle to survive in an exhausted ocean. A young orca growing up in modern seas faces more than just natural predators or dwindling fish. Pollution poses invisible dangers that can undermine health, especially for newborns. Industrial chemicals such as PCBs and heavy metals like mercury accumulate in marine food webs. Top predators, including killer whales, wind up with concentrated toxins in their blubber. Over time, these substances weaken immune systems and impede normal growth. Calves, reliant on their mother's milk, can ingest high levels of these pollutants, sometimes leading to disease or developmental complications. Plastics also loom large. Microplastics permeate many marine environments, and larger pieces of plastic debris can entangle whales, injure them, or block their digestive systems if swallowed. A curious calf that mistakes floating plastic for food may experience internal harm. Unlike entangled seals or turtles often found near shore, orcas roam vast areas, making them harder to track and rescue if they become ensnared. For a juvenile whale just learning to navigate, a piece of fishing line snagged on its tail or fluke can spell disaster by limiting mobility and causing infections. Noise pollution compounds these threats. Orcas rely on echolocation, using a series of clicks, whistles, and calls to find prey, communicate with their pod, and coordinate group activities. Human-generated noises from shipping lanes, military sonar, and offshore construction can drown out these signals. A calf's still developing ability to recognize calls and interpret underwater echoes becomes even harder to refine if the ambient noise is too high. In some cases, orcas have been documented fleeing areas with intense sonar, possibly leading them away from prime feeding or breeding grounds. The stress caused by noise pollution can also alter behavior. When orcas cannot communicate effectively, pods can fragment more easily, making it tough for a young whale to keep track of its relatives. Mothers may struggle to teach critical survival skills in loud waters, where no one can hear subtle cues or see the environment clearly through echolocation. Over time, constant noise disrupts daily routines, from feeding schedules to rest periods. A calf might burn extra energy trying to stay near its mother, or risk confusion if it loses track of the group. When a young orca is removed from its ocean home and placed in captivity, the environment shifts drastically. Tanks in marine parks, no matter how large, cannot replicate open water. In the wild, an orca might travel dozens of miles a day, diving deep and exploring a wide territory. Confined to a concrete tank, movement shrinks to an endless loop. For a developing whale, this abrupt change can hinder physical growth, leading to weaker muscles and compromised immune function. The tank's boundaries also limit mental stimulation, creating boredom and stress. The process of capture itself can be traumatic. Historically, whalers and aquarium operators targeted young orcas as they stayed close to their mothers, using nets or boats to separate them from the pod. The calf's cries echoed through the water, sometimes drawing the rest of the pod into a frenzy. Some whales displayed signs of distress for days or weeks afterward. Though capture practices have changed in many regions, the shock of forced separation still affects individuals who end up in facilities. They might never see family members again. Once inside a marine park, the problems multiply. Many captive orcas exhibit collapsed dorsal fins, a condition rarely seen among wild pods. Scientists link this phenomenon to limited space, lack of deep dives, and altered diets. Regular diets for captive orcas often involve dead fish, sometimes thawed, which can differ from the fresh, live prey they would hunt in nature. This can affect their nutritional balance. In addition, the social structure in captivity seldom mirrors wild pods. Orcas from different regions with no shared language or history are put together, leading to tension and even aggression. Captivity has also been linked to increased aggression toward humans. In the wild, documented orca attacks on people are exceedingly rare. Yet in tanks, several tragic incidents have occurred where frustrated or stressed orcas harmed or killed trainers. Some experts argue these actions reflect the intense psychological strain that comes from confinement and artificial social groupings. If a young orca grows up in this environment, it may learn stress-induced behaviors, including repetitive motions like logging at the surface or chewing on concrete walls. Beyond ethical questions, captivity hinders conservation goals. A confined orca does not typically learn to hunt or navigate the ocean, nor can it be easily integrated into a wild pod if later released. Some see marine parks as valuable for education or research, but critics point to improved alternatives, like whale-watching tours in natural habitats or large ocean sanctuaries for orcas that cannot be returned to the wild. For a newborn orca introduced to this unnatural life, captivity can become a place of frustration rather than safety. Orcas live in pods marked by tight family bonds and lasting relationships. A calf grows up under the guidance of its mother, aunts, and sometimes a matriarchal grandmother who has experienced countless hunts and migrations. These social ties help shape every aspect of orca life, from hunting tactics to dialect, the unique set of clicks and calls that each pod develops. However, human activities can disrupt these social bonds, making it harder for young orcas to learn and thrive. One major source of disturbance comes from boat traffic. Whale-watching tours, shipping lanes, and recreational crafts can crowd the waters where orcas feed or breed. If a pod encounters too many vessels, it may change its usual patterns. Rather than resting or teaching young whales how to coordinate a hunt, the pod might spend energy moving away from the noise or risk collisions. Over time, this leads to stress and social fragmentation, as key members might scatter to avoid heavily trafficked areas. A calf separated from its mother or guardians could miss out on essential lessons about which prey to hunt and how to communicate effectively. Sometimes orcas even flee prime feeding grounds because of increased human presence. This displacement can force them into areas with fewer fish or riskier conditions. Since orcas are so reliant on group cooperation, losing even one experienced adult can lower the group's chance of success in catching enough food. Younger members especially feel the effects, as they rely on elders to teach them safe routes, hidden feeding spots, and ways to handle threats like sharks or other orcapods. Another challenge is sudden changes in the environment due to industrial development, such as underwater construction or resource extraction. Loud drilling or seismic testing can interfere with the ability to echolocate or detect calls from distant relatives. Pod members might become disoriented or choose to leave an area they have inhabited for generations. For a calf, relocating means adapting quickly to new conditions and losing the benefit of established knowledge passed down by older whales. In extreme cases, orca pods can shrink to the point where the gene pool becomes limited, putting young whales at risk for genetic health problems. If too many family members vanish, whether from pollution, ship strikes, or forced relocation, the pod's structure weakens. That same calf, which would otherwise depend on guidance from several relatives, might not receive the diverse teachings needed for successful adulthood. Step by step, human interference can unravel the social tapestry that orcas rely on, leaving the youngest whales more vulnerable than ever. Climate change adds another layer of difficulty to an orca's life, starting from a very young age. As ocean temperatures rise, fish stocks shift in unexpected ways. Some species move to cooler waters, while others become less abundant altogether. For orcas that rely on specific prey, like salmon or herring, these changes can force pods to follow their food into unfamiliar territory. A calf that has just begun to understand its local environment may have to adapt almost immediately to new prey, different water conditions, and possibly more predators. In polar and subpolar regions, melting sea ice affects the local orcas' patterns. Some pods are used to take advantage of seasonal ice to corner seals or to avoid competition from other marine mammals. Now, receding ice can make certain hunting strategies useless. Pods might also encounter new rivals or threats as open waters become accessible to additional predators, or even more human traffic. Calves that have not yet learned the old methods might struggle even more to discover effective new ones. Meanwhile, severe weather events linked to climate change, like powerful storms or hurricanes, can disturb entire ecosystems. Orcas may find their usual coastal feeding grounds ravaged, forcing them to travel farther offshore. This added distance can strain younger whales. They must keep pace with the pod during long migrations, possibly into deeper waters filled with unknown challenges. If a mother or aunt is also stressed by the constant movement, the guidance a calf needs might not be as readily available. Habitat loss is not only about temperature changes. As sea levels rise, coastlines shift, sometimes altering sheltered inlets or coves that serve as resting or nursery areas for orcas. Coastal construction, spurred by human attempts to manage the rising seas, can introduce more noise or pollution into waters once considered safe. In some regions, essential spawning grounds for salmon and other fish are being eroded or changed, reducing the food supply for orcapods. When a species so finely tuned to its ecosystem is forced to adapt quickly, the youngest members bear the heaviest burden. These disruptions, from moving prey to eroded coastlines, may not always kill an orca calf outright, but they chip away at its stability. Each generation must learn to cope with new environmental curves that never existed before. A once reliable sea that offered abundant fish and predictable seasonal shifts becomes full of surprises. In this climate of uncertainty, a young killer whale's path to adulthood grows even more difficult, showing that even one of the ocean's top predators is not immune to the sweeping changes caused by global warming. Killer whales begin life with heavy odds stacked against them. From their vulnerable birth, they face natural predators, food shortages, and the constant need to master survival skills in a hostile ocean. On top of that, human actions compound their struggles. Industrial pollution taints their waters, noise disrupts their social bonds, and diminishing ice or rising temperatures challenge their age-old patterns. Even captivity, often promoted as a form of education or entertainment, can heighten stress and spark aggression in these highly social, intelligent animals. Behind the magnificence of the orca's black and white form lies a creature that thrives only when allowed to roam vast stretches of ocean, maintaining strong social ties and handing down specialized feeding methods through generations. When human activity fragments pods, polluted habitats, or reduces prey availability, young orcas bear the brunt of the damage. This becomes especially painful to witness, knowing that orcas depend on extended family networks to grow into capable hunters and nurturing parents. Yet there is hope. Conservation efforts aimed at protecting key habitats, restoring fish stocks, and monitoring noise levels can help younger generations of orcas flourish. Responsible whale-watching programs and marine sanctuaries also promote mutual respect between humans and these iconic mammals. By recognizing the challenges that killer whales face from birth, people can work toward solutions that protect orca families and safeguard a future where they rule the seas without facing so many threats from our world. If you enjoyed this video, watch our next one shown on screen.